Welcome back to Blended Scotch Reviews by Stab the Dragon Productions for episode number 42 in the Blended Scotch series as we continue studying blended scotches for under $30 a bottle. That's the bracket we're in. Coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas on Wednesday, August 12th, 2026, where it is currently 100 degrees. And this is like the 19th day this summer that we've been 100 degrees or better. Now, I last looked at the blended scotches in December of 2025, so I really do need to try to get back and finish this first round of the under 30 bracket. Although today I'm kind of cheating just a little bit. Today's whiskey is Sia, a blend from an independent blender who happens to be an American lady, by the way. The name Sia means 6 in Gaelic. So just the facts. This is an 86 proof non-age stated blend that supposedly has 6 whiskeys in the blend. This 750 milliliter bottle cost me just under $30, but that was on sale at Total Wine when I got it. And it's usually going to be in the $35 to $38 bracket. Tasting notes. This is a vibrant, lemon zesty, sweet, but in a pleasant way, flowery, fruity, buttery, and vanilla type whiskey. The maltiness I get on the nose is a little bit fainter on the palate, but also on the palate, little subtle smoke and peat, sea saltiness comes through just a little bit. Score of 86. Letter grade for drinkability a solid A. My recommendation. I think this is a great blend for the price and could serve as a very good intro scotch to a bourbon drinker. Details. Founded in 2014 by Karen Luna Ostaseski. Maybe I'm spelling that right, pronouncing it right. And she used a crowdfunding Kickstarter to get the money to start this. So there's not a whole lot of history going on here, not much information. In fact, I could not find a website for it. I tried and tried. I mean, I know they used to have a website, but now I can't find a website. So 3 out of 5 for history. Bottle label and marketing. The bottle's kind of unique. It's an odd shape here with kind of an hourglass shape. Oval. You can see here. Wow, in fact, this says my price was $23.09. I mean, that's a heck of a price. Wow. But now I can't find it for under 30. So am I cheating by using this? I don't know. But the label is classy but understated. I mean, it's nothing real bold other than the name. You have this S going on there that is also etched into the glass on back and also on the cap. So that's interesting. Not a whole lot of info, just a very brief hoo-ha statement on the back that says this. Sia is my gift to you, a flavorful Scotch whiskey created to appeal to your modern tastes. A delicious blended Scotch from Speyside, Highland, Lowland, and Islay whiskies. Really. Sia awakens the nose with a hint of vanilla and caramel, followed by a touch of citrus honey. Enjoy. Karen Luna Ostaseski, Sia Scotch founder. There you go. So I like the fact that, they did put that on there. That gives you a little bit of the contents, right? And this is a 43% ABV. Or 86 proof. So there's just a little bit of information there on the label. I began seeing this bottle in liquor stores here in Fort Worth about 5 years ago, I guess. But it has been out for at least 12 years. I've not seen any marketing for it, but have read some reviews now. And they really, and watched some on YouTube. And they really, again, I could not find a website anywhere. Although some of the older reviews from 6 and 7 years ago mention that there is a website, but I tried and tried, and I couldn't get there. It redirects me to online whiskey uh, sales place or something. All right, so 4 out of 5 for bottle, label, and marketing. But a lot of people did mention the unique bottle. They liked the bottle, other than it being exceptionally tall. One review I read said, or listened to, said he had to rearrange his shelves to fit this. So yeah, outlier bottles that are super tall or whatever can be a problem. Appearance of this whiskey. Well, you can see in the bottle that this is kind of a medium grade color, amber. There you go. So that's a solid 3 out of 5. Now, Scotch does allow for caramel coloring, so who knows how much caramel coloring is in there. 3 points for appearance. Composition, again, it comes from 6 whiskeys, they say. 40% Highland. Lowland doesn't really give, but 50% Speyside, 10% Isla. And so that comes up to 100%. But the bottle does say Lowland. So I don't know who came up with the percentages there, but I saw that a couple of times. But the percentages don't quite add up. And I have seen that Tianinic, a Highland whiskey from Alness, Scotland, is the lead Scotch in there. But other than the Tianinic, we don't know any of the other 5 whiskeys. One percentage I saw said 40% malt, 60% grain whiskey, and aged in first fill ex bourbon cask. Well, if it's first fill, that would explain some of the color. So that makes sense. So composition, though, 12 out of 15. I've got too many unanswered questions there. Nose. Let's get to the whiskey. It's got a vibrant nose. A little bit of sweet maltiness initially, honey. A little bit lemon zesty, or perhaps green apples. Maybe some floral. Maybe just the faintest wisp of seaside saltiness, saltwater. Very pleasant. 8 out of 10 on the nose. I like the nose. Maybe some of the bourbon-esque notes in there. All right, let's taste it. This is lively. Very bold for a blended Scotch. That's one reason I really like it. Lemon zest is there. It's very sweet, but in a pleasant way. It's not too sweet or going in the wrong direction there. A little bit floral. Fruity. Again, I get the lemon, but maybe some apple notes in there. Yeah, buttery, vanilla. Get that from the bourbon cask, I guess. Now, the maltiness that I got a little bit on the nose, I'm not really picking up on the palate. Now, this one's just not as subtle as a lot of blends are. There's a boldness here I'm really liking. The 86 proof is helping that. I do taste a little bit of the peat smoke and that seaside sea breeze saltiness. And in fact, when I first opened this and tried it, I didn't much care for it. First pour, neck pour, that is the story of my life. But I waited a few days. Tried it again. That time it made a positive impression. So I'm drinking this the other day and I'm researching it online, watching some reviews. And everybody was mentioning peat. I got 0 peat the first glass. And in that second glass, not much of anything. I mean, no peat. Until I started watching these other reviews. And I started searching for it a little bit more. And towards the tail end, I started getting a little bit of peat. So the power of suggestion, maybe, but I mean, it says it's got some Isla on there. Uh, but particularly on the finish, I'm getting some peat as well. So this is where watching reviews, reading reviews can be helpful. I don't think I'm imagining that. I just didn't get it the first couple of drinks, right? But after seeing guys that I've respected and followed for years, they say there's peat in there. The bottle says there's Isla in there. So being patient and studying the whiskey a little bit, eventually it came out. Now this is very faint paint. I mean, this is very faint. Okay, let me tell you that Dewar's White doesn't have any peated Scotch in it. However, what I've read is that some of their barrels that they age their whiskey in are aged in peated casks. And so while there's no peat whiskey in it, some of that peat from the cask carries over. And again, you have to really search for it. But when you do that, eventually you find it. Now, something like Bell's has more peat in it. So this is nowhere near as peaty as Bell's. Okay, this is maybe a step above Dewar's White. That's almost no peat. I mean, you really have to dig for that. So this is just a step above that, but it's quite a bit below Bell's. So if you're peat sensitive, if you don't like peat, I think you might still like this because it's so faint. It's there, but it's faint. And actually that might make it a good intro to peated whiskeys. So, all right, so for taste, this became an instant favorite for me. 23 out of 25. Really liked it. But again, not the neck pour. Me and neck pours just don't like each other. Mouthfeel, burn, and finish. It's got a medium mouthfeel. I mean, you can see the oiliness there in that glass. So it's nice and oily. So it's got a medium mouthfeel. It does have a noticeable burn. Focused in the mouth, but it's pretty noticeable. And for 86 proof, I thought that was an appropriate burn, which I was glad to see. I like a burn in my whiskey, and this provided a little bit. It goes up just a little. It like starts to go up in the sinuses and then doesn't. So it's got a nice appropriate burn. Medium finish. The sweet and spiciness kind of lingers along with a little bit of the peat smoke. That lingers on the finish. So 13 out of 15 for mouthfeel, burn, and finish. Versatility, flexibility. All right, this is obviously wonderful neat. My favorite way to drink it. I think the flavors are strong enough and the punch is there if you want to subject it to ice. And as far as a cocktail goes, all right, yesterday I made a ginger ale and Sia, and I was sorely disappointed. Okay, I mean, I use ginger ale and blended scotches all the time. And for some reason, the scotch disappeared in that ginger ale. None of the peat smoke survived at all. And so not much of the flavor survived. I was really disappointed. So I've given this a provisional 5 because I'm going to think that was a one-off thing. But let me go make something resembling an old fashioned and see how that turns out. And if I have to deduct a point, then I'll deduct a point. But I'm not going to give up on this. I'm going to try a cocktail. I'll be right back. I'm back, and I've made an old fashioned with the Sia Scotch. And that's because, yeah, I talked with my wife, and she sampled the ginger ale with Sia yesterday. She didn't much care for it either, and that's very unusual. I mean, that's usually a mixed drink that she enjoys is blended Scotch with ginger ale. The Sia just didn't work with that. So I thought I'm going to try an old fashioned today. Okay. So what we did is this is a fairly sweet and lemony Scotch. So I've got a lemon slice, lemon wheel going on in there. And then a sweetener. I needed to darken this a little bit, so I used turbinado sugar cube. And then a couple of drops of Angostura bitters and 3 drops of orange bitters to go with the citrus theme. So let me see how this turns out. And that is decent, but again, I'm not sure. Hmm, maybe too much bitters. I don't know. I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna take a point off. The flexibility here is just not what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna give it a 4. And this is very unusual. This is such a good blended Scotch neat. All my other blended Scotches, well, all the ones that I've uh, tried to make cocktails of, have tended to work in either ginger ale or something like that old fashioned. This one I've tried twice, and I've been disappointed twice. I don't know. This may require further study, but I'm fine drinking it neat. But flexibility, let me drop that down to a 4. Price, value, and availability. Now, I got this on a ridiculous sale. I mean, the sticker I put down here says 23 and change, $23. Everywhere else I'm going to check for prices now, Total Wine has it for $33.99. Specs 30 or Goody Goody $36.99. Specs $35.78. So I don't know what the deal with Total Wine was the day I bought this, but that's why I got it when I did. Oh, I got it 2 years ago. Gee, October of 24. Yeah, I saw that price, and that's I said, nah, I'm getting that because all the other prices I'd seen were well over 30. So, am I cheating a little bit? Because this is the under $30 bracket, and yeah, I paid under 30 for this, but you can't get it for under 30 at most places. So, maybe I'm cheating just a little bit, but there's no age statement on here, so I don't know. I mean, I've got a over $30, a $30 to $40 bracket that I'm going to do next. But that's all going to be 12-year-olds. I don't know that I have anything that's not age stated. So, okay. So price, value, and availability, though, even at the higher prices of $36, $37, this is a good deal. Again, I like it neat. 10 out of 10 for value, availability, price. Bonus points. There are lots of questions about this one's history and composition, but it has some very good success. Really, during the last few years, I mean, this is a fairly new whiskey and it has survived the Scotch crash in America, COVID, and everything else. So this has survived. I don't think it's real flexible. Okay, it's got great availability, great value, great price. I'm not finding it all that flexible. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. So I'm going to take 1 point off of my bonus and give it a 4 out of 5. So that's a -2 from my score that I initially announced as an 86. So it's an 84. And I think I'm going to list it as an A- now. Uh, I just don't know what's happened with the flexibility there. That is just disappointing. So, all right. But otherwise, I mean, if you're looking for a neat pour, absolutely, this is delicious. It's very bourbon-esque, I think. That lemony flavor in there is really good, and it's widely available. So I think it's a good transition whiskey for bourbon drinkers to get into Scotch. All right, what's coming up next? Well, this is entering into the tournament, and its competitor is Famous Grouse Bourbon Cask. We've already reviewed this one when I did a Famous Grouse Family Feud. So the review is out there, but we're going to pit these two against each other. And I think that'll be a good match because the Bourbon Cask has some of those bourbony notes, and so does Sia. So I think that's going to be a great matchup, and we'll see who wins there. All right, for now, for Stab the Dragon Productions, this is Blended Scotch Reviews out here.